Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/EntitledPeople for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my opinions at the end, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Shut-in lurker. Ex-renter acted like he owned my home. So, this is from a year ago, but it still makes me angry today. I, 43 female, met my renter, 52 male, driving to work one day. He and I were on the same team, and the bus stop was a mile from our building. I decided to be nice and picked him up in the mornings as I came in. We got to know each other, and he told me he had lost his car and license due to DWIs, and was currently living on a friend's couch after a nasty divorce. He seemed very honest and open, just a dude down on his luck. Against my better judgment, I offered to rent him a room in my house. I own a 3-bed, 2-bath to myself and 2 dogs, and figured I'd be helping someone out and making some income off my empty space. It started off as small things, him not owning anything and wanting to borrow until he got some income going. This included a bedspread, pillows, towels, a lamp. Okay, no biggie. He said his ex got all his stuff in the divorce. It took him 6 months to buy his own towels. As he got more comfortable, he got more entitled. He used all my cleaning supplies and toilet paper. He took pillows from sofa since they were communal items to use on his bed. He used my kitchen towels to blow his nose and hoarded them in his room. He ate my food, used my spices, and ran his TV 24/7. His true colors came out after a few weeks. I lived downtown in a capital city, and he went out every night and got drunk. He'd always forget his key and ring the bell and knock at 1:30 to 2 a.m., waking me up and my dogs. He'd then make drunk meals and leave the dishes and food out. I finally started charging him $25 per key in and told him past 9 p.m. he sleeps in the porch. $200 later, he took me seriously. This behavior escalated more and more. I'd firmly remind him he was overstepping and he was violating his signed agreement. He'd act remorseful and apologize and promise better. I kept it very professional, never let him meet my friends or hang out with them. He was a tenant, not a friend, and this was my home. It finally came to a head when he banged on my bedroom door at night demanding I let him in and saying gross sexual comments. I let him know I was canceling his lease and he was to leave in the 30 days notice. The next day, he got belligerently drunk, was screaming in my face that I can't kick him out of his house, and he had a right to use anything he wanted in his house. I went to my room to find he'd done and gone through my stuff. I had 2 friends come over and told to leave. He sat on the floor and refused to move like a child. His friend finally got him to pack a bag and leave. Next day, he came back saying he was going to sue me and sent me a Venmo request for money to compensate his emotional damages. No. He also refused to give me back my key until his friend threatened to leave him on the curb. I filed a police report and let our managers know I no longer felt safe working with him. It's been a year and I still get glimpses of him. He is as smug as ever, but at least not in my home. Oh yeah! Found out he was telling people at work in our local food mart we were married. Yeah, that makes me wonder if he was even married in the first place and he was just in a basic relationship or even just a tenant with someone and claimed it was his ex. And they took all his stuff, all of his stuff, in quotation marks, when really he was just living with someone else. And then, he just rinse and repeats, goes through the same cycle, and ugh. Just another example of no good deed goes unpunished. OP took this man as, being honest with his words. He was down on his luck, made some mistakes, needed somewhere new so he could rebuild himself. Turns out there's a pretty good fucking reason he's living on a friend's couch, or was living on a friend's couch. Microwavable pasta. My bio mom who gave me up is now pulling the "but I'm your mother" card. I was adopted at birth. It was a closed adoption and I never had a relationship with my birth family, ever. I know very little about them, and that's the way I like it. My little sister, who's also adopted but not blood related to me, has been being a hot mess. Whole other story. And has been trying to get my brother and I to contact our bio families, and we both don't want to. We are all adopted, but not blood related to each other. So anyways, she gets in contact with my bio mom and gives her my number, and she starts texting me. Context is she has older and younger kids that she kept. I don't know why I was adopted out, but my theory is it was something to do with my bio dad, like I was an affair baby or she had a new boyfriend or something like that. Most of her kids don't have the same dad from what I do know, but I don't know for sure, and I don't care. Not like I'll ever get a straight answer anyway. So again, this woman gave me away. Didn't push for a relationship until I was an adult, and then, here's the best part. After trying to butter me up by saying a bunch of the BS, she, drumroll, asked me for money. Yep, of course she did. I said no, and she said, "But I'm your mother, we're family." No, the fuck we aren't. The woman who raised me is my mother. The woman who read me bedtime stories and talked me through breakups and took me to doctor's appointments is my mother. You don't get to give me away and then think I owe you something because I'm blood related to you. I'm actually so shocked. She even had the balls to ask. It's bold. I'm your mother. I actually gagged. Honestly, whatever your sister's going through, I hope she gets it together because whatever she's currently dealing with doesn't mean she should just start involving all the adopted siblings, bio parents into the equation because not everyone has the same adopted family story. Sometimes it might be messy. Sometimes they might come a knockin' and ask for money. But because you literally have no relationship with this woman and you have no obligation to have a relationship with this woman, and it's very clear the only thing she actually wants from this relationship is money. Yeah, I just use the block button and call it good. Tell her to have your younger or older biological siblings to help her out with her money problems instead. You know, the ones she didn't give away. Hammy Burger. Family shows up to animal sanctuary with a cage. Demands goats. This is from a few years ago, but the memory resurfaced during a meeting recently, and I felt the need to tell it. Important background. I work as a tour guide in a dairy farm turned animal sanctuary, specifically formerly farmed animals. You'd be surprised how many people buy cute baby animals and then mistreat them when they commit the crime of growing up. At the time, we had a bunch of goats and chickens. It is also important that when we were a dairy farm, we sold the baby goats every summer. But in order to buy from us, we had to examine a person's property to make sure they could properly care for the animals they were getting. Our animals' well-being always comes first. It is also very important to know that the switch to a sanctuary was a very public ordeal. The sanctuary posted about it absolutely everywhere. We even threw a big party to signify the change. So, cut to a few summers ago, the transformation was made months before, and we were still getting used to the new way things were running. Tours had been paused for a few months, so I was happy to be back in my role. We only had a single tour that day, and it was a family of 4. I've done hundreds of tours, so it sounded like a piece of cake. Until they pulled up in a truck with a large dog kennel in the back. I was instantly put off by this and sent my coworker a text to make sure he was nearby and aware of the situation. Then I put on my best I'm in a public-facing job face and went to greet the tour. It was 4 people, a father, mother, daughter, and son. They all looked genuinely excited to be there. I started to hope I was just overthinking things and it would be a nice, normal tour. Oh, how wrong I was! Me, and EF is the entitled father. The mother was pretty quiet and the kids were just happy to look at some goats. Like I said, this was a few years back, so I'm doing my best to sum it up as accurately as possible. Forgive any of it sounding clunky. Me. Hi there, welcome to Sanctuary Name. I'm Hammy, and I'll be your tour guide. Great, we're here to buy some goats. Oh, I'm sorry, are you? Last name. It says you're signed up for a standard tour. Yeah, but we also want to buy a few goats. At this point, I'm not fully sure what to do. Like I said, we were still getting used to the new way of doing things. I knew I wasn't the one running any sales, but I was pretty sure there were no sales. At all. Still, I knew it was possible, I just wasn't in the loop on something. Me. Did you email boss about wanting to buy a goat? I haven't heard anything about. It's okay. We bought 2 wethers, fixed male goats, from you a few years ago. They're doing great, but we want to start milking to make cheese. We need to get at least 2 females and a male. I'm just sort of nodding along at this point, very much aware that this definitely wasn't going to happen, and that all our intact males were scheduled to be fixed very soon. Well, unfortunately, I don't have the ability to make this sort of sale for you. I'm just the tour guide. You'll have to get in contact with boss, but I want to make it clear that we aren't a farm in the way we were when you bought from us in the past. As a sanctuary, we don't sell any form of product. The entitled father, still grinning like everything is going right for him. Oh, that's all right. While we're on the tour today, maybe we can pick out the goats we want to buy. All I could do was just stare. A lot of the stories here have the entitled person explode with anger or frustration, but it was the total opposite here. The entitled father was just completely unable to comprehend that they would not be going home with a new herd of goats. The mom and son weren't paying attention, but the daughter was looking at me in a way that made it clear that she, the 7-year-old, understood the situation more than anyone else. I felt a bit sorry for the kids. Goats are awesome, and I know it's sad to not get something you were looking forward to, but those are our goats. I ended up just repeating that I'm not able to sell them any goats and then starting the tour. I was the only guide at that point, so I had done many tours, but this was absolutely one of the most uncomfortable. The mom was totally checked out, but the dad spent the whole tour asking questions about fencing, in which he revealed that he planned on housing the females and males together. He didn't understand why I said that was a horrible idea, going so far as to ask why females can't just constantly breed and birth all year around. That alone would have prevented us from selling to them. At each new section, he would point to a few goats and go, "Oh, maybe we'll get those," to his kids. Needless to say, at the end of our tour, they left goatless. I sincerely hope that if they did find a farm that would sell, they at least listened to me when it came to penning males and females separately. I don't have high hopes, but oh well. Happy to report that our goats are continuing to thrive and we will always make the best choices for them. Edit. I misworded something and need to clarify. They wanted to buy several females and an intact male, and then house them together. This breed of goats goes into heat, meaning are able to breed year-round. That means a female would potentially be either pregnant or birthing constantly. That's 1, unhealthy for the females, and 2, a lot of babies, and 3, a major increase in the chance of inbreeding. Sons and brothers will breed to their mothers and sisters. There is no issue with housing wethers and females. That's what we do now that all our boys are fixed. Goats are delightfully bizarre creatures, I gotta say. I'm also very curious if maybe the entitled father just believed that he could strong-arm it, or he just genuinely could not comprehend that they were no longer selling animals. Well, I bought it a few years ago, so surely they still do this now, right? Or maybe he thought this was some kind of wink-wink, nudge-nudge under the table deal or something. I don't know. But I'm glad they left goatless, because it sounds like that would have been absolute hell for animals going from a sanctuary environment where they are cared for and loved to, well, the hell that they would have been imposing on those poor goats. Rickrolled 7 again. My mom called my landlord to complain about the way I decorate my own apartment, and I only found out because my landlord called me confused. I moved into my first solo place 8 months ago, and it took me forever to make it feel like mine. I painted one wall in my bedroom a deep olive green, hung shelves, put up photos, got curtains I actually liked. Nothing was done without checking my lease first. No damage, no violations, just a space that finally felt like it belonged to me. My mom had visited once back in the spring and spent most of the tour telling me the green wall was depressing, and that my shelves were crooked and that the curtains made the room look smaller. I listened, said I liked it, and moved on. I thought she had too. Last Tuesday, my landlord called me and opened with, "So I got a bit of an unusual call." My mom had phoned him directly, introduced herself as my mother, and told him she was concerned about modifications I had made to the apartment and wanted to know if he had approved them, and whether there were plans to address them before my lease renewal. My landlord said he told her he had no concerns about my tenancy and that the apartment was in good condition, and she apparently pushed back and asked him to take another look because she felt things had been done that could affect the property value. He called me purely because he found the whole thing strange and wanted me to know. I was so embarrassed I didn't know what to say to him. When I called my mom, she said she was just looking out for me and that if I had a problem with it, maybe I should think about whether my decorating choices were actually as fine as I thought they were. She genuinely did not seem to understand why I was upset and kept reframing it as concern for my future and my rental history. I told her clearly that she is not to contact anyone in my life about my living situation again. Not my landlord, not my employer, not anyone. She said I was being dramatic and hung up. I'm still angry, and I honestly don't know what the next step looks like with her. Dude, your mom is a snitch. Like, on one hand, she's either attempting to manipulate you so that way you take down decorations she doesn't like by going straight to your landlord and snitching, which is fucking bullshit and just incredibly petty and gross and unacceptable, or on the other hand, her excuse of think of the property value is legitimate and not just a guise for the fact that she hates your decorating and is trying to find any way to force you to undecorate. And she is so concerned with this hypothetical property value that she is willing to throw her own child under the hypothetical bus just so that way the property value is maintained. All hail the property value, am I right? Who gives a shit if it puts our kids' futures in jeopardy? All that matters is number go up. Egads, curtains, shelves, and a green wall. Think about your rental history. What that'll do to the property value. Oh my gosh. All hail eggshell white. That's all we get. Also, I just finished painting a room in my house, and it actually turned out pretty good. I will say though that painting orange peel texture is the fucking worst. Why anyone would deliberately choose orange peel texture is beyond me. I think this needs to be burned to the goddamn ground and just spackled over or something because you can't paint it. It just, the paint roller can't get into little crevices of it. Found out that sponge brushes actually do a really good job of filling it in, but it just feels like that there's always just these little white speckles everywhere and it drives me crazy. Ugh. I feel like I spent more time trying to fill in the white little dots than I did actually painting the walls. God damn. Would highly recommend a sponge brush because switching to that fixed the problem immediately. Scotch tape is the devil. Use frog tape instead. Jotaro 5DO. My boyfriend's mom showed up to my apartment to inspect it before deciding if he's allowed to move in with me. So my boyfriend Jake and I have been together for almost 2 years, and we recently decided he's going to move into my apartment. My apartment. That I pay for. That I have lived in alone for 3 years. Jake is 26 years old. I found out last Thursday when my neighbor texted me saying there was a woman in the hallway taking pictures of the building entrance and asking other tenants questions about noise levels and what kind of people live here. I came home on my lunch break and she was literally standing in my hallway with a notepad. His mom introduced herself very warmly, said Jake had mentioned the move and she just wanted to see where her son would be living before things got too far along. She asked if she could come inside to check the layout. I said no. She looked genuinely surprised, like that was an unreasonable response. She then told me she had some concerns about the neighborhood and wanted to discuss house rules in case Jake moves in, including whether I'd be okay with her having a spare key for visits. I told her this wasn't something we were going to discuss at my front door without Jake present, and that showing up unannounced to evaluate my home was not something I was comfortable with. She left, but texted Jake that I was hostile, and she thinks we're rushing things. Jake apologized and says she does stuff like this, but he looked genuinely embarrassed. I like him a lot, but the idea that his mom sees my home as a space she gets veto power over is making me rethink the whole timeline of this move, honestly. So, OP, if Jake is great but unwilling to stand up to his mother, you're going to end up with a mother-in-law problem. So, definitely nip this in the bud and potentially even just sit down with Jake and have a full heart-to-heart conversation about if his mom is just like this, if he enables this, if she's kind of going around his back and doing this, if he asked for this, if he's okay with attempting to set boundaries with his mother, and figure out what kind of options you have. Because if he's willing to tolerate this kind of behavior from his mother, especially when he's moving into your apartment, then unfortunately Jake may not be the guy for you. Because while he might be perfect in every other aspect in the relationship, far too often have we seen the mother-in-law problem be the cause of a relationship ending. Dipper to Mabel. My mom called my university advisor to fix my major, and now she's acting like I owe her an apology. I'm 21 female, a junior in college, living on campus. My mom has always been the kind of parent who treats my life like a group project she's leading. When I picked my major, psych, she smiled and said that she was supportive, but she never stopped making little digs like, "So you're gonna be poor?" or "That's not a real career." I usually ignore it. Last week, I got an email from my academic advisor asking if I could stop by because there was confusion about my course plan. I go in thinking it's about a prereq. Nope. My advisor says my mom called the department office and left a voicemail about how I'm lost and emotionally unstable, and that I was changing majors to something useless and needed help getting back on track. She also asked if they could send her my grades because she pays for everything. She doesn't. I have loans and a part-time job. My advisor looked uncomfortable and basically told me they shut her down, but they wanted to make sure I'm safe and not being forced into anything. I wanted to melt into the carpet. Like, imagine your mom pitching you as a crisis case to your school. I called my mom after and asked what the hell she was thinking. She immediately went into this calm voice she uses when she's trying to sound reasonable and said she was just advocating. Then she admitted she also emailed one of my professors to ask why I got a B on a paper because she knows I'm smarter than that. I told her she crossed a massive line and that I'm an adult. She started crying and said I'm ungrateful and that she's the only person who actually cares about my future. She then tried to flip it on me, saying my advisor probably thinks she's a bad mother now and I should call them to clarify that she meant well. When I said no, she got sharp and said if I keep pushing her away, don't come crying when I fail out. I haven't slept right since. Part of me feels guilty because she's convinced she's helping, but I also feel like she tried to take control of my life by embarrassing me into compliance. Am I wrong for telling her she's on an info diet from now on? My unfortunate guess would be is that both your university and your professors, have been through this roller coaster before and have seen parents doing this numerous times. So I don't think they're thinking, whoa, this Dipper to Mabel person? Yeah, they're definitely unstable. Their mom says they are, after all. They're probably like, Jesus Christ, look at the kind of home life this person's escaping. Good Lord. Also, just because someone thinks they're doing right by you doesn't immediately absolve them from any kind of harm or wrongdoing. If I hit you in the shins with an aluminum bat and say, no, it's fine because it builds character. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I genuinely believe that me hitting you in the shins with an aluminum bat is actually helping you, you wouldn't tolerate that shit at all. You know, out of all the mentions of the aluminum bat, that one actually might be the furthest stretch. But you get the point. OP, your mother right now is trying to determine what your best interests are without even consulting you. What you think you want? No, that doesn't matter. It's all about what she thinks you want. What she thinks is right for you. And this is evident and obvious by the fact that she fully believes that she's the only person thinking about your future, while actively pretty much dragging your name through the mud to your university and professors. I wonder if she's afraid of you getting a psych degree because you'll be able to identify and understand her bullshit more. Golden Golgies. Woman demanded I admit fault in minor car crash she caused. Was just chuckling to myself about the story, so thought others might enjoy. Based in the UK, left lane drive, which might help this make sense. So I was driving along in a small country town about 20 miles per hour one morning, coming towards a left bend where a minor road also joins from the right. As I start to steer into the bend, a car comes shooting out of the minor road and crunches nose first into my driver's side. I look up a bit baffled and see a woman in her 70s staring at me over the steering wheel and her crumpled bonnet. My first thought was that she'd had some sort of medical emergency, so I bum-scooted out the passenger door and dashed around to ask if she was okay. Sympathy vanished quickly, though, as she got out and came charging towards me, shouting, "Well, that was a stupid thing to do, you silly stupid gal!" I was 45 at the time. "You were driving right into my path and not even looking at me!" She then got really personal, calling me a scruffy idler. Despite this, I invited her to come sit at the side of the road for a minute in case she'd had a head injury or was in shock. By now, a small crowd had gathered, and she started inviting them to join her in berating me. One woman, thank you, that woman, said, "I'm sorry, but I saw the whole thing. This lady had right of way and had no reason to expect you to drive into her." I took the witnesses' numbers, took some pictures, and then started enlisting help to push our cars into a nearby car park as traffic was gently building up, in an "I'd like to park outside the coffee shop" sort of way. I think at this point she realized the odds were not in her favor and softened enough to give me her details like it was a huge favor, actually a legal requirement at the scene of an accident here. She suggested that we drop the case against me if I paid her damages without resorting to her solicitor. I said, let's see how much our repairs cost and we'll figure out next steps from there. She did not like that and called me a silly gal again. I waited nearby while her recovery arrived and then headed off to my garage. I was only 5 miles from home. On the way home, I thought, we all make mistakes and get angry to cover them. Maybe she's a carer or something and it makes her cranky. But she really needs her car. I settled to wait and see what repairs cost before reporting to insurance. Well, my quote came to over £1,000, so I sent her a text to say that was too much money for me to pay on trust, so I'd be reporting the incident to the insurers along with the photos and witness details. The lady then sent me the sweetest few texts. You'd think I'd just given her a grandchild, thanking me for my help. Would I like to come to National Trust Place for lunch where we could get to know one another better and work out the best course of action for everyone? I blocked her and reported her to my insurance. 2 weeks later, my local garage had my car good as new, and she was probably facing the insurance bill of her life. I think she was probably a retired head teacher or something, and it was fun to see her deploy all her strategies from tellings off to schmoozing to try to get me to comply with her version of reality. I do wonder how reliable those witness statements would be. I mean, the one reason why I bring this up is because once upon a time when I was like 19 or 20, I watched someone run a red light and T-bone someone who was turning left on green. And I remember that those of us who had witnessed it went to the local gas station nearby to write down our reports and give them to the officer who was responding to the scene. Some gave written and verbal. One of the guys who had witnessed the accident and was giving a verbal report claimed that the driver who was turning left ran the red light, and they were the reason why they got T-boned, and not the truck who sped through the intersection at almost 60 miles an hour. And I know for a fact that it was green because I obsessively watch the other lights to wait for them to turn yellow so I get an inkling of an idea of when it's my turn to go. That was extremely frustrating, and I even wrote in my report that the guy was an idiot and didn't know what he was talking about. Never, ever, ever rush an intersection or a red light. It's never worth it. The 2 or 3 minutes you might be saving in the moment is not worth the lifetime of guilt you could be causing yourself. And I say that because the truck that had ran the red light ended up going off into a ditch, and I just have the haunting memory of one of the passengers who was walking around just fine, suddenly collapsing and yelling for help because their legs no longer worked. And you can't even apologize for that. You ran a red light and now one of your friends, your passengers, might have a permanent injury because of that. Let alone the car you T-boned, which thank God the father and daughter in there were okay. But yeah, just a small tangent that I was reminded of because of the whole witness statement thing, and this memory just kind of pops up from time to time, and it still lingers with me. Bliffy's new shoes, 73. Customer demands refund and gets verbally abusive because they sat and ate a whole set menu meal. I went out for Valentine's with my partner to a lovely local family-run Italian restaurant. I will preface this by saying that this restaurant is quite old, with an older generation running it, so they have a basic website and little to no social media. However, when you get sat, you are given their set menu. At that point, if you're a sane person and you don't want their set menu, you'd walk out and find somewhere else, right? Just in case, for those of you who may not be aware, a set menu is a predefined dining experience. Usually you get a few options and you choose from there. But there's no wiggle room, it's as the chef makes it. This lovely woman, we'll call her Emma, late 40s, early 50s, has just finished her meal with her partner and approaches the till to pay. She is incredibly upset and also half-cut as she explains that they should have advertised their set menu better, that the service was shit and so was the food. She gets incredibly shouty and aggressive, clearly embarrassing her partner, who doesn't have the balls to step in and stop this tantrum. She demands they reduce the bill, and when the server does, due to her aggressive demeanor, she gets even more aggressive and demands more is taken off. Her partner at this point asks her weakly to stop, but alas, she's officially on one. She eventually does pay, but the abuse continues. She's upset they didn't put the set menu on their website, which she also demanded the name of, so clearly never looked. She's threatening to talk to trading standards. She's pointing and cussing, etc. Eventually she leaves, which is the best decision she has made all evening. This woman was handed a set menu on arrival, likely a walk-in, and ate a whole meal. Her bill was £85-ish, price advertised on the set menu, plus drinks. And yet, she had the gall to cause such a fuss and embarrass herself. There's a Spoons next door and plenty of other restaurants about which are guaranteed to have seats available, as we're a small town. The food was amazing. The service was amazing. I wanted to step in and support the servers, but my partner prevented me from stepping in as I was feeling a little aggressive, and he didn't want me to make it worse. Therefore, I've been upset about this interaction all evening. I can't believe people are like that. I'm sorry to any server who has ever had an interaction like this before. Please know we tip more than 20% and thank them all for an amazing night before leaving. Edit to change that my partner held me back to prevented me from stepping in, which was intended as a metaphor. He just calmed me down, people. It wasn't that deep. He just made me realize it would be stupid to intervene as I could make things worse. He was right. Edit to add, I do understand that some people really do think I should have intervened and spoke to Emma. I do have other reasons not to, as she was getting violent and I can't put myself at risk right now. I shouldn't have to explain more to anyone, but I feel like a lot of you don't understand other things play a part in how I reacted. Maybe that's not enough and selfish of me, but I've been in situations like this before, and intervening has got me hurt. My partner could have intervened, but he had already decided it would make things worse, and I'm not going to force anyone to put themselves at risk. I hope you can understand. I've turned off notifications as this was my first Reddit post, and I didn't realize how crazy it would get. Thank you for your kind comments. Smiley face. Unfortunately, in the service industry, you kind of learn quickly that the appeasement strategy only works temporarily. I mean, yeah, it gets them off your back, but when you give a mouse a cookie, they'll want some more. Wait, is that book a criticism on social programs? Huh. Fuck. Well, anyways, when you're dealing with a Karen who's trying to essentially abuse or manipulate the poor service workers who are trying to just get their job done, and they go for appeasement to get her to shut the fuck up and get out the door, well, it just justifies that behavior. It makes them come back. It makes them do it again. It makes them do it at other restaurants. And additionally, sometimes, like in this one here, when you give them that first inch, sometimes they'll just jump right in and see how much they can actually take in that moment. It's frustrating because sometimes the easiest way to actually just take care of this is to literally just get them out the door, give them what they want, and call it good. Oh boy, another outro without any effort put into it besides recording it. I'm sick. I've got a really nasty stomach bug, and I'm doing the bare minimum for today's upload because I don't want to miss an upload because I have a really nice hot streak going. Haven't missed a daily upload in like, over a year. So want to keep up with that? But don't forget to check out GamerSupps. Use code OZ at checkout. They've got caffeine free, sleep aid stuff. It's good. Flavors are solid. Recently, I picked up Red Sickness, and it's actually really good. It's like pear and blueberry mixed together. So it's like soda pressed pear, but with some extra zip to it. So it's good. Use code OZ at checkout. Every purchase made supports the channel directly. And yes, I do mean directly. The reason why I actually say that every single time is because when I used to just say every purchase made supports the channel directly, someone in the comments tried correcting the fact that it doesn't support the channel directly when, no, it quite literally does. Every time my code is used, I get a cut of that sale. So, yeah. You use code OZ, you get some tasty caffeine, and I get a little bit of support outside of YouTube's bullshit revenue system. For those of you who have made it this far in the outro, I would like to tell a soft grievance I have with Reddit culture versus Tumblr culture. See, with Tumblr users, if you tell someone, I like your shoelaces, you can discreetly identify each other by simply responding, thanks, I stole them from the president. See, this way, if the person is not a Tumblr user, they're not put off by you saying, hey, I like your shoelaces. It might be a weird comment, but it doesn't raise any eyebrows. Reddit, however, in its infinite fucking wisdom, has decided that it's the narwhal bacons at midnight. That's how you identify your fellow Redditors. Which means if you go up to someone who you suspect of being a fellow Redditor and say, the narwhal bacons at midnight, congratulations! If they're not a Redditor, you look fucking crazy. I hope you enjoyed this train of thought outro. Who knows? Maybe I'll just keep doing these, but I can tell that not a lot of people actually listen to the outros this far in.